Seth freaking Rollins, aka Monday Night Rollins, to aka what the hell happened. Like, everyone, this is my discussion for 2018 Wrestlers Retrospective. Okay, how do they screw up Rollins? Like, at first, everything was pretty bad a little bit. He was tag teaming with Jason Jordan, who tragically had to have neck surgery, and his career is in great doubt. However, there was momentum being built when Seth Rollins' curb stomp returned, and all of a sudden I was like, this is the first time I'm interested in him in a long time, since they screwed up his big push when he was WWE Champion and just started making him a weak coward who kept over relying on people. And yeah, Seth Rollins would go on to be tag team champion at the end of the year with Jason Jordan in 2017, and he would enter the year with Jason Jordan, and yeah, it wasn't working out so well. It looked like it was going one route where they were going to have Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan be the fight at WrestleMania, but due to unfortunate circumstances, Jason Jordan had to get neck surgery, and his career is currently in doubt. He is still out of action to this day, at the time of this video. So, Rollins would enter at number 18 in the Royal Rumble match. He would get eliminated by Roman Reigns. Right after the Rumble match, he and Jordan lost the tag team titles to Cesaro and Sheamus, and ending their reign at only a measly 34 days. And then ultimately it would lead to Seth Rollins announcing that he intends to become Monday Night Rollins. He wants to no longer be a tag team guy. He wants to be a singles competitor, like a certain Cesaro guy should do, but Vince is never going to allow that. He's evil for a variety of reasons. He's a professional wrestler. He doesn't like to be called a sports entertainer, and you know that's offensive to Vince. So Rollins would go on to compete in a fatal 5-way match against Finn Balor, Apollo Crews, Bray Wyatt, and Matt Hardy to determine the final entrant in the Elimination Chamber match for the number one contendership for the Universal title. And Balor and Rollins would simultaneously pin Wyatt, resulting in them being added and making a triple threat opening matchup inside the structure. Rollins would then participate in the 7-man gauntlet match that was epic and legendary because Rollins became the second guy in WWE history to beat two of their top stars who no one could suspect could beat because they were so protected. And it was stunning to everybody. Like, everyone was surprised he pinned Roman Reigns clean. It's like, oh, he's not going to get past Cena. Cena's going to beat him. And then Rollins surprises everyone by defeating Cena. He would ultimately get eliminated by Elias. However, he would last for 1 hour and 5 minutes, the longest performance of any match for any wrestler in Raw history. And however, Seth Rollins' match at Elimination Chamber, even though he was the 1 hour and 5 minute man, they unfortunately would not let him become the champion heading into for WrestleMania in terms of the Universal title, as he would be eliminated by Braun Strowman as the 5th man, and the victory would go to Reigns, making this whole gauntlet match completely superfluous. More so, and John Cena even advocated apparently for Rollins to be put in as the winner of that match to fight Lesnar. But Vince doesn't believe Rollins is a credible threat. Okay. I really hate that mentality. That Vince thinks that Rollins is not a believable threat. So let's see. A guy who's the dead man walking is a believable threat. Is believable. A guy who can control fire is believable. A guy who somehow faked his death, had made love to a dead corpse, a plastic doll blow up, but still. Went ahead and had a story with a guy who eats worms. Had a story where there was a guy who could control, who was a shaman. A giant gobblegoogler whatever thing, and you're telling me a guy who's a wrestler cannot defeat the Beast Incarnate, who's also a wrestler? He's just called that. He's not really a beast. Come on, Vince. Like, believability is not wrestling it's not WWE's forte. Stop acting like it is. like you call it sports entertainment, which means it's sports, but it's also entertainment. So realism should be thrown out the door. But that would confuse Vince more so. So, anyways, heading into WrestleMania, however, Seth Rollins would go on to feud for the Intercontinental Championship against The Miz and Balor. And Rollins surprised everybody by becoming the first ever person to pin The Miz at WrestleMania, ending the streak of not being pinned. He has lost at WrestleMania once. Has lost at WrestleMania before, but that's a completely different subject. He would defeat Miz and Balor to win the IC title and to become the 29th Triple Crown champion and the 18th Grand Slam champion in WWE history, joining up with his fellow brothers in arms, Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns. And he would defend the title on numerous occasions and have several open challenges that were phenomenal matches before losing the title to Dolph Ziggler on June 18th of Raw after a distraction by Ziggler's nefarious ally, Drew McIntyre. Now, everyone was wondering, why was Rollins' matches being so good all of a sudden? Like, he's a great performer, but these matches were something else. Something was different about them. And I can confirm what was. You see, a person named TJ Wilson was in charge of producing the matches. Now, everyone would probably be wondering if they don't really know who he is in terms of his in-ring life. Well, when he had an in-ring career. Who is TJ Wilson? Fact. Yep, Tyson Kidd is TJ Wilson. Yeah, Tyson Kidd has been the guy producing Rollins' matches, and I'm just like, okay, can we make him the booker of the show? Because he clearly knows what he's doing in the wrestling part. Like, just make him produce all the matches. I'm like, granted, that might be a lot of work, but still. And this would lead to a Ziggler-Rollins match for a 30-minute Iron Man match for the IC title, which for some reason made evented instead of the, WWE Championship. Oh, who am I kidding? That's a title that's not big enough to be main event worthy. It's not like it's over 50 years old or anything. Right? But, yeah. The 30-minute Iron Man match, like, everyone was expecting that to be the show-stealing match. However, they did something horrible. Instead of making it the 60-minute match that it should have been, they made it to 30 minutes, and they went ahead and oversaturated the victory falls to get a sudden death match that lasted within 2 minutes because of McIntyre's assistance. So, yeah. And Rollins would fight McIntyre a couple of times, which were good matches, but I want to see a pay-per-view match between the two, but looks like that's not going to happen anytime soon. And on August 13th episode of Raw, Rollins enlisted the help of the returning Dean Ambrose, now with a roguish look and soulless eyes and ready to start kicking ass and taking names. Oh, and he married Renee Young, so congratulations on that. Oh, and had to go through staph infection, and they never brought that up on any television. Which should say something. He could have died, and the company did not acknowledge that until they made a special on it, and then all of a sudden it was talk-worthy. So, because of McIntyre and Ziggler's nefarious alliance, Rollins had gotten Dean Ambrose back after his recovery from injury, and now Rollins would win his second Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam in a phenomenal match, wearing Thanos' gear, which you see in the video. And yeah, he would wear Thanos' gear, and I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. And following that, so Rollins was red hot, right? He was on fire. He would burn it down, basically. He was kicking ass and taking names. He had Dean Ambrose back. They looked like they were going to do a heel turn eventually to get the feud between those two back. And then they screwed it up big time. More so. You see, that same night at SummerSlam, Roman Reigns would win the Universal Championship. And sure enough, that would lead to Strowman trying to cash in, and the Shield has to reform to save Roman, because that's clearly the noble thing about a face, right? And this would lead to the Shield no longer being the Shield, it would be Roman Reigns' insurance policy. Rollins and Ambrose were only put to reform the Shield with Roman just to make Roman cheered. At least when the Shield initially reformed last time, it at least had more than just, we gotta make Roman cheered. So, we're gonna have Ambrose and Rollins fight at WrestleMania. Oh crap, he got injured. Then this is dead in the water. We can't use it anymore. So, yeah. Ambrose and Rollins were turned into Roman Reigns' personal lapdogs to basically protect him of the title. And I must stress, they made them a face group, not a heel group, which is clearly the right thing to do here, but they didn't want to do that because the Roman agenda needs to be protected. So this would lead to Rollins no longer defending the IC title. He would go on to defend it once during this run. He didn't defend it at Hell in a Cell, as he and Ambrose would team up to fight McIntyre and Ziggler for the Raw Tag Team titles, which they failed to win. It was a great match. But again, he's not doing double duty, as I would imagine the workhorse Rollins would do. And this feud would ultimately end. This whole storyline they were going with ended, and I barely called it a storyline, because Roman was forced to relinquish the title due to leukemia, which Rollins was breaking down in tears and was crying like all hell when he had to realize that, oh my god, my friend is going to be sick. However, they would go ahead and win the tag team titles with Ambrose in the main event later that night, and Rollins would be attacked by Ambrose, making the end of the Shield. And then you got this big feud with Ambrose and Rollins going. Then you got Survivor Series coming up after Rollins would lose the Raw tag team titles in a handicap match to AOP. The authors of pain, but long names are very complex. So shorten it down for bite-sized kids, because clearly they need to be coddled. So, yeah. At Survivor Series, Rollins would go on to fight Shinsuke Nakamura due to the Inter-Brand Championship match. That wasn't for the title, but still. However, this is when the feud between Rollins and Ambrose was starting off red hot. Like, Ambrose would burn the vest that he and the Shield had, claim the Shield was weak. And then following that, they wrecked it with they brought in Roman's leukemia. That was the dumbest idea they could come up with. You see, they're basically saying that everything Roman did on television Roman Reigns, not Joe. Everything Roman did, he's going to answer to the man upstairs. You have to realize Vince had to likely write that script, right? He had clearly written that. And it didn't help that Raw was getting worse and worse and worse and worse. More so when Roman was gone. Which led me to believe that Vince just did not give a crap anymore. Because since if Roman's not on the show, I don't care anymore. So I'm going to just ruin everything. Because Roman's not there. He's not there for me to make the show about him. Who am I supposed to make the show about? What, Rollins? Velveteen Dream? Dean Ambrose? They're not big men. But yeah. So, here's the thing. This would lead to Rollins defending his title 2 more times against Ziggler and Baron Corbin in a TLC match on December 10th, which was surprisingly good than I expected. However, 6 days later, Rollins would lose the title to Dean Ambrose, and they really had screwed it up by that time. Not only did they exploit Roman Reigns' leukemia because, LOL, that's a great idea for a selling factor and not at all tasteless and horrible. And really contradicting of your moral principles, Vince. Or at least I think you do. And instead just makes it bitter and angry. Like, not angry at Ambrose, it's angry at the company. Like, I can't imagine Ambrose, even when he's in this villainous role, saying, Roman's gonna die. Like, I'm clearly wouldn't be surprised if Vince actually wants Roman to pay for not fulfilling the insane expectations he had to be the first John Cena Undertaker, the next John Cena Undertaker, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Hulk Hogan, whatever, every single top face of the company that was ever produced to be crammed into one, because that makes sense to Vince. That really still pissed me off. And it wouldn't stop. It just wouldn't stop. Because you see, a report had come out that after TLC was over, Rollins' push started to die out. Like, he wasn't no longer getting pushed. Like, reports started coming out at the end of the year and at the beginning of the new year that the booking committee of WWE, the idiotic management, were suffering from booking remorse, as in they're starting to realize this. Rollins isn't really the guy we wanted him to be. And I was like, no! Really? He wasn't your... He didn't get the obligations he clearly should have been given, and you think he's not a top guy that you envision him to be? What, he's supposed to turn crap into gold? Which is impossible? You're fucking nuts. So, yeah, and then they suffered another booking remorse reportedly, where they said this: we should never have had Triple H put Rollins over at WrestleMania. You mean to tell me that you have become so detached with Rollins that you regret making him a star at WrestleMania, beating the guy who had manipulated him, and feel like he should have went the other way? There's so much wrong with that sentence I just uttered that it should be a miracle I did not pop a blood vessel. So, yeah, Rollins is now in this uphill battle because now they want to make him fight for the Universal title, allegedly, against Lesnar, but there's a conflict of interest. Vince surprisingly doesn't want Rollins and Lesnar. He wants Braun Strowman and McIntyre. Triple H wants Rollins and Lesnar. Though here's the difference with this, and I can't believe I had to say this, I'm siding with Vince on the McIntyre Strowman thing. At least that's an interesting new matchup and not a Lesnar being in the starring role. However, if Vince gets that match, Rollins and Lesnar, it's gonna suck. Oh, not the match quality. That's guaranteed to be great. More so. The problem is, because Vince clearly does not have any moral fiber in his body, and any moral compass he has points down deep south, Rollins and Lesnar's supposed feud is going to be utilizing Roman Reigns' leukemia as the selling factor. So in this real-life case where Roman Reigns is potentially risking his livelihood, Joe is fighting for his life, you're going to turn his real-life medical condition he's going through, that he's battling to defeat, and I'm hoping he defeats and whips his ass, to make a story out of it, to exploit it, and make it the main event of WrestleMania. Up until Becky got popular, and then they went into damage control mode, and now they realize they don't know what to do. Because every time when I hear that report, it's not making me just think that this is a disgusting, horrible way of lazy booking because they can't make a legitimate heel a heel. They gotta exploit, they gotta ruin, they gotta exploit a real life issue that's currently going on with one of their performers, and even if he gave consent, that's still a lazy thing. Just because they have the consent to do it doesn't mean that they really should do it. But there was something else I had come to realize. Oh my god. Roman is basically penciled in for the main event. I'm not kidding. This is basically this is going to be Vince's way to make Roman the focus of eventing WrestleMania without him physically being there. and they're going to utilize his leukemia as their excuse to put Roman in the main event, because that will clearly work. And not piss everybody off and piss off everyone who suffered from blood cancer and piss off people who have died from cancer, the victims of the people of family members who've lost their lives to cancer. That wouldn't come off as horrible, tasteless, and PR disaster waiting to happen. Though this is the same guy that thought of doing a transgender storyline with a guy that they condemned for his appearance and called him a freak of nature would clearly have worked. Which really, really pisses me off. Like, I have no problem with transgender people, but my problem was the fact that they are going to put a guy who they've condemned on commentary as a freak of nature, and if you put in the transgender element, then that would just make it seem like, so are you saying that that freaks of nature that you described on television are transgendered people? Vince, I am overtly curious about what you think about everyone who's different from you. So yeah, I am actually not excited for Rollins' 2019. It started off still a little bad right now. And it looks like he's going to feud with Bobby Lashley now, so that sucks. But yeah, Rollins 2019 doesn't look so good because they have bitter storytelling ideas they want to do that will not work, and in fact will piss more people off than ever. And yeah, I don't see this working out well for WWE if they really want to piss everybody off, and I really recommend they shouldn't, especially with AEW on the rise, because if Rollins really, really was serious, he could just pack his bags and go to AEW. Where they would not treat him like, hey, can I actually be pushed and treated with respect? Or are you going to just punch me in the face and tell me I'm a dumbass? Because that's what Vince is basically doing. He's punching Rollins in the face saying, you're not this. You're not everything I wanted you to be. How did you not make my horrible looking ideas to work? You failed. I knew I should have let my son-in-law put you over. You were a mistake, Rollins. That was clearly what Vince is saying, basically. So yeah, Rollins' 2019 doesn't really look that great. I really hope I'm wrong. I really hope I am really wrong. But we'll have to see how that goes for Rollins' future in 2019. So this was my thoughts on Seth Rollins' 2018. This was Neo Reality Entertainment. For a free like, comment, subscribe, and donate. Stay tuned for more.